participation in this program. And now we go to you, Keith.
Hi, good morning. So let's start out in seated mountain pose and take a few breaths. And then I would like to read something, then practice meditation on a pretty regular basis for a long time. And I found this one book that I really like, and it has a little meditation in it that I'd like to read. But first, let's just focus on our breathing. Just take a few breaths and relax the shoulders and soften the face and eyes. Well, the only thing that you need to think about here is beginning to have good posture, sitting up nice and tall, but in a relaxed way. So we remember in yoga, we have that combination of ease and effort. And notice that I've closed my eyes. So I'm not thinking about or looking at anything except my attention is coming inwards. So I begin to feel what's happening inside and right around me. Maybe I even feel my clothes on my skin, or if my fingers are interlaced, noticing the interlace in my fingers, feeling the soles of the feet on the floor. And then beginning to feel the belly moving with the breath. So as I breathe in, I can feel the belly expanding like a balloon. You could even rest your palms on your belly if you wanted to be able to have more of that feeling. And as I exhale, I feel the belly going back. And I very gently press my feet into the floor. So that's the isometric contraction of the quadriceps here. So even though my feet, nothing's really moving here, although if you could get really close, you would notice that there's a slight, my muscles shorten right here, like that, maybe this much, a tiny amount.
Keith, I see you only in gallery shape. Gallery. Should you be in full shape? Full size?
Yeah, you should be able to. You should be able to.
Joan Beasley, is that right?
Yeah.
It says Joan Beasley, but I don't. How do I get you full face?
Try if you click on the gallery picture that you see of me.
I did. I'll try again.
Click on that and hit pin.
Hit pin?
Hit pin.
I don't know where's pin.
And it should pop up. If you click on the gallery, you should get a little list of things that you can press. Am I, Sebastian, do you know if I'm pinned? Or Will, do you know if I'm pinned on everybody's? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know, I'm sorry.
All right.
That's the best I can offer is pin the video, pin me, stick me with a pin. But, and then if
see it, yeah, I don't see it, such an item. All right, never mind.
All right, sorry.
I'll stick with it.
Sorry.
All right. Very strange.
And if everybody can remember to mute themselves again, so after, it's okay to unmute yourself, but please remember to mute yourself again afterwards. So we're coming back to our breath and sitting up nice and tall. Pressing the feet gently, and then feel the buttocks in the chair and whatever you're sitting on. So this, I actually had to take the cushion, so I'm not at home. I'm actually at the Cape, and I don't see the ocean or anything, but there's nice trees. I had to remove the cushion that was on this bench because the cushion sort of, it made it kind of squishy. And it's better to have something nice and firm underneath the buttocks. And if it was too hard, then I could take a blanket or a towel and sit on that, but it would still be firm. So we want to be able to feel the sitting bones. And when we can feel the sitting bones, it makes it easier to lift the ribs and extend the spine. So we'll press the feet, feel the sitting bones, and then lift the ribs and extend the spine. And these are all micro movements. And that means that movement is very small, maybe a half an inch, maybe a quarter of an inch. It's really about engaging the different muscles that provide the support system for our posture. So that's what we're starting with, building our support system for our good posture. And this is so important whether or not you're doing yoga right now, or if later on you're sitting and you're sitting at the computer, or you're sitting at the dinner table, or you're sitting at, I don't know, wherever. You're outside at a picnic table having lunch, and you always want to be thinking about your posture. Because posture really means that, good posture means that the spine is elongated, and that means that we create enough muscular support so that the vertebrae that are stacked one on top of the other are not squashing down on each other. And when they squash down, they compress the discs. We don't want that. We want the spine to be long, and that makes the spine more supple. And then before we begin some more movement, I'd like to read. So we're going to, if you'd like, try this meditation. We've done this, we did this earlier in the week. It's breathing in, I know I am breathing in. So as you breathe in, you repeat that to yourself, or your other choice is you could whisper it to yourself. So it's breathing in, I know I am breathing in. And I do that as I breathe in. And then as I breathe out, I say, breathing out, I know I am breathing out. And the timing is such that, I mean, you can't really see it here, but the length of those two phrases, the breathing in and the breathing out, are about the same. And so what happens is that we end up breathing in and breathing out about the same amount of time. So that gives us our rhythm for the breath. And also the length of the breathing in, I know I am breathing in, gives maybe a 2 or 3 second breath in. So it not only gives us a rhythm back and forth, but it gives us timing, or gives us a length. And the lengths are approximately the same. And when we meditate on the breath, oftentimes we practice that way, where the breath in and the breath out are sort of the opposite sides of the same coin, so that they're even, there's evenness. And we like that evenness. That evenness means that we get more methodical in the breath, and we get more methodical in the mental experience. So this is ultimately, working with the breath is ultimately working with the mind, because as we slow the breath down, as the breath becomes more rhythmical, the mind begins to slow down. And it's easier to focus the mind so that the mind isn't wandering. So let's try that a few more times. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. And of course, feel free to write this down so you remember it later. Carry it, put a piece of paper in your pocket. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. I'll try that a few more times. Please repeat it to yourself silently, or whisper it to yourself. And let's begin with the sound of Om. So this is something to wake the voice up, to wake the heart up with the vibrations from the sound of Om. Thinking about sitting up nice and tall. Remember, the Om sound is the ah, so mouth nice and wide, and the O, so the shape, think of the shape of the lips. And then finally we close the mouth gently, gentle closure, like a buzzing of a bee, like brummery, if you remember brummery when we practice that. So we'll begin together and we'll continue for about 30 seconds. And remember, it's smoothness. We want a nice smooth Om. It doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't need to be long, but we want it to be smooth, just like we have the smoothness when we do the breathing in. I know that I am breathing in, breathing out. I know that I'm breathing. Think of that smoothness. And let's breathe in together, and we'll continue, and I'll let you know when we're going to end. And then, so remember, breathe in naturally and continue on with the Om sound. Breathing in. Om. Relaxing the shoulders and the face and the eyes. Continuing to breathe in naturally and Oming. Om. Sitting up nice and tall. Feel supported by the feet and the buttocks. Om. Relaxing the shoulders, the arms, the hands and fingers. Om. Release the jaw, the tongue, and the throat. And one last time. Continuing to breathe normally, feeling the belly rising and falling with the breath, or expanding and then releasing and going back with the breath. Feel supported by the feet and the buttocks. And we'll add a little movement, bringing the palms together. Inhale up and around with the hands. So remember that the movement follows the breath. So we begin to breathe in, and then as the hands are together, they begin to rise up as we're breathing in. And then as we begin to breathe out, the hands come apart and they float down. Inhaling up, exhaling down. So this is a place where, if you wanted to, you could take a rolled up blanket or something and hold it between the legs if you wanted, to give a little bit of work for the inside of the thighs. So you just want it to be not so close that the knees aren't together. So something like this is probably, for me, is good. Hips, knees are in line. Inhale up and exhale down. And a couple more times around. Inhale up, lifting the heart. Perhaps the chin lifts slightly. And perhaps it goes down as you exhale. I'm feeling some movement between the shoulder blades. So behind me, between the shoulder blades, I'm feeling them coming together, and then I'm feeling them spreading apart. So this helps to build some mobility in the thoracic spine. Let's go the other way. So as we inhale, and then as we exhale, we let the hands float down, turn the palms up, and then lift the hands up. They come together, and then they float down again. And perhaps the chin is lifting up and down a little on this one too. You might even notice that the hips rock slightly, or the sitting bones are rocking slightly underneath you. And when I say slight, just a little bit. So we move more towards the front of the sitting bones, and then as the arms come down, we move more towards the back of the sitting bones. And then bring the hands together and take a few breaths. Inhale and exhale. Remembering you can adjust the arms to any height here. Just the elbows no higher than the shoulders. Only as high as the shoulders, but you could go all the way down with the elbows by the waist. Opening. So whatever feels nice, you could even work your way up and down with the elbows. So slowly moving the elbows up and then slowly moving the elbows down. So the hands are kind of making this S shape up and down, or like a switchback on a mountain road. And then, so we're gonna do some things seated and standing. And I want to give a couple more choices. So we're going to start out with some to warm up a little bit, some abdominal work, and we're going to start with lifting the knees as if we're marching like this. So you have a few choices here. One choice is to do it standing. But remember, this is chair yoga, so it's okay to do it seated. And it's okay to come behind your chair like this. I'm going to stand so you can see me. And you could even use the chair like this and then lift up. So as I lift, one of the things that we do in yoga is we work on work on alignment of the joints. So I'm going to turn so you can see me. And the alignment on this one is the knee and the ankle and the hip are in a line or in a vertical plane like this. So if I was standing against, let's say, a wall like this, it would be going up and down. And you could, perhaps not today, but if you wanted to practice sometime and you had a wall, you could stand next to the wall and it would tell you whether or not you're even when you come up. You could even add, this is kind of nice, this reminds me of, it's like a little robot. Thinking about coming up, lifting the arms straight up too. So everything is in line here. And you may need to periodically look down and make sure that your knee, hip, and ankle are in line. Feel free to use the chair here. So if you're at all concerned about balance, work like this. You could also work at a kitchen counter. You could even work at the wall. So even just holding on to anything like this. So if this was the wall right here, I'm going to stay like this I'm going to do a few more. So don't stop if I stop, unless you need to stop. You should always stop if you need to stop. And if you're seated, right? If you're standing, continue to stand. If you're seated, it's the same thing. It's slightly different, but the alignment is the same. Notice that arms still going up and down like this, straight, and my fingertips are pointing straight ahead, and my knee, hip, and ankle are all in a line. So that's so the alignment's actually a very important part of yoga. And the reason for that is because if we pay attention to the correct alignment in the joints, it's much easier on the joints. There's less wear and tear on the joints, and there's less likely to be injury. It doesn't mean you can't injure yourself, but it means it's less likely. So we've done that, and so if you're seated, you're going to need to slide to the edge of the chair for this one, so that you'll be sitting like this, so that you can get your leg back like this. And if you're standing, we'll stand up next to the chair, and we're going to step the foot back like this. So notice that the ball of my foot is on the floor, and I'm just going to rest my fingertips on the chair. My other leg is straight, so most of my weight is on the standing leg. It's like this. So most of my weight is on this standing leg. And then I'm going to squeeze my buttocks together here. And notice when I squeeze my buttocks, this leg that's behind me starts to straighten and the heel goes down. And I'd like to be looking straight ahead here so that my hips are not turned. So if I was facing you like this, I would be like this. Notice the hips are straight ahead. And then you can't see my legs straightening, or maybe you can. My knee bends slightly and then straightens. And then we're going to switch legs. So let's change sides. So come back to standing. So think about mountain pose, standing up nice and tall. If you're seated, you need to slide to the other side of the chair and then step back. And then we're going to go back and forth, slightly bending and then straightening. Think about, as you're bending the knee, think about the buttocks doing the work here. So we're squeezing the buttocks together. If you were to keep one hand, if you need the hand for balance, try one hand on your buttocks and notice when you straighten that the buttocks, they contract like this. And then come back. And let's stand in mountain pose. Standing up nice and tall, or seated in mountain pose. So either way, our feet are supporting us and we're extending the spine up. We're going to roll the shoulders back and extend the arms down. So again, roll the shoulders back, extend the arms down. It looks like this from the side. Shoulders back, arms down. So be mindful that the belly doesn't stick away. Sometimes when we do that, our belly ends up sticking out. We need to pull the belly in using the gluteal muscles. The abdominal muscles. So there's a contraction in the belly. And so when we circle the arms back, we engage the belly. We engage the gluteal muscles that we were just doing like this. And that helps to stabilize the pelvis and support the lower back. So that's an important part of good posture. It's the stabilization and the firmness in the pelvic area. We need all these muscles down here to help with that. And we're going to do tree pose next. And we're going to do tree pose like this. So if you're seated, remember that you will sit up tall and then bring the foot out like this. And if you wanted with tree pose seated, you could also extend the other leg straight out in front like this. So you could try that. And then it's very important to lift and extend. So here I am, I'm a little bit hunched, and then I'm going to lengthen and extend. And you'll notice, and this goes for any standing or seated, when you lengthen and extend the spine, it kind of pulls and you feel stretching in the other muscles, because essentially you're stretching everything. You stretch these muscles and they pull on the muscles in the extremities. So we're going to do tree pose, and I'd like to do it like this. We're going to start by starting in mountain pose, and then turning the thigh out in the groin. Turning the thigh out. Not the knee. The knee is turning because the thigh is turning, but I'm not trying to turn the foot out. I'm turning the thigh out right here in the inside where the groin is. And remember, you can hold the chair if you need to. Try not to lean against the chair. So if you lean, there's a tendency for us to be out of balance. Try to stand up tall and then step. And the reason I wanted to practice this was because this is the beginning of when we do the warrior poses. We have to turn our leg out and keep the hips facing in this direction. So we would be more like this position. Notice that now my whole leg is turned out. So I want to start to get used to that idea of turning the leg out like that. Let's switch sides. You could also do it if your balance is good, or you want to challenge yourself on your balance and you're not worried about, please be careful. Don't set yourself up to fall over. You could do it with no hands, but only if your balance is really good or you're confident in your balance. The other thing you could also do is stand against a wall. So if you put your back to the wall, it's actually, you can feel the body sliding along the wall without leaning though. So I'm stepping out, and I like it with the arms because we get this nice opening in the heart. And so this is another part of warrior pose. When we do warrior, it's like this. The arms are out like this. The chest is broadened. The spine is extending up. So think about that. Chest broadens, spine extends up. Remember, you can always use the chair here like this. You could even just do one arm like this. And we're turning the thigh out. Turning the thigh out. And see if you can do them in sync with each other. So they go out together and they come back together. And they go out together and back together. And out and back. And let's do the other side. Now we're going to do tree pose. So a tree pose, we open the thigh out like that, and then we bring the sole of the foot on the inside of the calf. Or if you want, you could even work with the ball of the foot down like this. But either way, we want almost all our weight on the standing leg. Well, if your foot is like this, you want all the weight on the standing leg. But we want this leg to be firm, straight, and the spine extending up. So think about pressing the foot down and extending up. Pressing down, extending up. We want that feeling of lift and extension as we turn the thigh out, just like we were doing a moment ago. And this time we bring the sole of the foot on the inside of the thigh. You could even rest the toes on the foot like this, or also like this. And compact the hips here. So the buttocks are gently squeezing together, maybe 30 or 40% effort. And that's going to help support the pelvis. The abdominal muscles are firm. So if you tap on them, they feel firm. And if you want, you can always add your branches like this. And remember to breathe. So the most important thing is to breathe. Perhaps find a drishti point, a point of concentration. I'm looking out across the room and my gaze is elevated slightly. So raise your gaze, elevate your thoughts, and then go ahead and step back down. And remember, any of these poses, you can always come down for a moment and rest. You don't have to hold them. It's not a competition. Yoga is really not a competition. Sometimes people think that it is, or they get caught up in the competition. And there's absolutely no need for that here, especially because we're not looking at everybody else. So there's the only person to compete with is perhaps yourself, and sitting up nice and tall, or standing up nice and tall, and then stepping the foot out, and then finding a spot for the sole of the foot. Finding a spot for the sole of the foot. And pressing that standing leg firmly into the floor and extending the spine up. And then if you want, you can add your branches like this. Finding perhaps a drishti point and remembering to breathe. Finding stillness as if the air was calm. You were a tree and there's no breeze at all. No breeze. And then go ahead and when you're ready, come back down. I have a little timer going on my phone to help me in case you are wondering. And standing up nice and tall. So let's do that one more time. Standing up nice and tall, and then turning the leg out, bringing the sole of the foot on the inside of the calf, and then arms up. Think about extending the spine, pressing the foot down. Buttocks are engaged. The buttocks are firm, helping the spine extend, supporting the spine. And then go ahead and come back down, and we'll do the other side. Come into mountain pose, and then feel balanced on the left and the right foot. So come back to a centering, looking straight ahead, and then go ahead and let's do the other side. So press the opposite foot and leg down and extend the spine up. Sole of the foot's on the inside of the calf. And then when you're ready, you can extend the arms. Be a beautiful tree. You can decide what kind of tree you'd like to be. A pine tree or a maple tree, an oak tree. And then go ahead and come back down. I was just thinking that, some trees embody certain attributes. Like an oak tree we think of as being very strong. Some trees are more flexible, right? So you could change your type of tree to mentally change what you want to work on when you do your tree pose. And let's do triangle pose. So let me, I'm going to sit down for a moment and demonstrate triangle pose seated. But if you're standing, you'll step your feet apart, just like this, but your legs will be straight like this. But if you want to sit, you can. It's nice to come to the edge of the chair, the front of the chair, and not use the back of the chair here. You could also, with triangle pose seated, you could also extend the legs like this, and then extend the arms out, or perhaps work with the hands on the shoulders. If your shoulders bother you, like with the arms out, try bringing the hands in, or even lowering the arms a little. And then either way, we're going to slide the hand down the leg, and then we're going to come back up. And then the other side. And as you slide down, try to bend from the hip joint like this more than curling like this. So I'd like to keep my spine relatively straight and then bending at the hip. You'll curl a little bit, but more the emphasis is on keeping the spine straight. You might notice that one side for me is easier. I curl more on this side, I think, than I do on this side because of imbalances. So let's all come back to mountain pose, standing up nice and tall. So I'm going to stand up and I'll do it standing. So if you're seated, you'll repeat what we just did. And if you're standing, we'll step the feet back apart and inhale, and then go ahead and let the arm slide down the leg. So as you bend over, or as you lean to the side like this, think about elongating the side that's on the bending side. So rather than bending like this, think about elongating the ribs as you bend over, so that the two ribs, the sides of the ribs, stay relatively even. And then try the other side. And then inhale. So we'll do it with the breath. Well, let's lower the arms for a moment. Just roll the shoulders. Actually, step back for a moment. And just shake out and swing the arms. So we're going to do that again. And we're going to do it with the breath. So you'll be doing it at your own pace. And I'll show you what I mean. So this is just to sort of bring some evenness and some ease back. So let the arms swing. Remember, whether or not you're standing or you're seated, still let the arms swing. Just be careful. This chair is it's actually not a bad chair, but it's pretty light. So we always want to be careful if we're using something we're not used to. I usually use a heavier chair, but that's what's available. So we stand up, we're in our mount, or we're sitting, and then we go from mountain pose to stepping the feet apart and extending the arms out. And then we inhale and extend the spine up. And then we're going to begin to fold to the side and let the arm come down as we exhale. And then as we inhale, we come back up. So we use the inhalation to lift us up, and then we use the exhalation to bring us down. So inhale up and exhale down. So we're going to go back and forth like that. Exhale down and inhale up. Exhale down and inhale up. And one more on each side. Exhale down, inhale up. Exhale down and inhale up. And then please lower the arms down slowly and step the feet back and roll the shoulders. Let's do some cactus breaths. We'll inhale and back. So we're going back and forth. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. If you want, you can give yourself a little hug. Perhaps starting with the elbows, though, like this. And then working your way up the arms until you're touching the shoulders. And then if that still all feels okay, you can reach more around for the shoulder blades. That's definitely more challenging. So please do this without straining. We don't want any straining here. And then bring the arms down, let's roll the shoulders. And then the other way. So let's sit back down for now. Or I should say, you can sit back down. We're going to start with a little bit of little joint work. So you're also welcome to do this standing. Or perhaps you sit down for a few minutes and then you re-stand up when you're ready. Starting with the fingers. So opening and closing the fingers. So as I do this, even though I'm spreading, I'm feeling the hands opening like this, but there's no forcing to open them. It feels okay. Even though I might have some fingers that can bother me a little bit, I'm not I'm not making it so challenging that they bother me. And of course, if you need to get a little drink, feel free. And let's circle the wrists around. And then the other way. And then back the other way. And back the other way. And if you're standing, please go ahead and sit down because we're going to do the ankles. We're going to start by rocking the feet like this. So think about lifting the heels, lifting the toes, lifting the heels, lifting the toes, and then add the hands to it like this. So the movement, the ends of each of the movements for the feet and the hands are in time with each other. So as I lift my heels up, my hands are either reached the end here, or they've come back and reached the end here. And then they go back and forth. So the pace is the same. The rhythm is the same for the feet and the hands. And then try adding a little circle to it like this. So circling the hands around as you rock the feet. See what happens. A suggestion for this is don't try so hard to make it perfect. See if you can just feel the rocking and feel the circle. So remember, we use different parts of the brain depending on we want to use the non-analytical part of the brain. So we want to use something that, and maybe it's not perfect. It doesn't need to be. No one will even see you. And let's go back the other way with the hands. Or you can continue just like this. You could continue like this. But maybe this is a little more fun. Or maybe you just need to practice the other one and then try to add this. And remember, don't be hard. You don't have to be hard on yourself about it if it's not perfect. And then rest the hands, roll the shoulders, and let's do a little bit of swimming. So rolling the shoulders back, a little backstroke. And then a little forward, a little crawl stroke, reaching the hands out and across. Letting the body turn. Notice if you look down at the area between the hip and the ribs right here, there's a turning that's happening as I'm reaching out and across. So we want that turning as a good exercise for the abdominal muscles, as well as good for elimination and digestion. So it's a gentle squeezing of the belly. Not really a squeezing, but like a massage as we turn. And then we come back. We roll the shoulders. And then back the other way. And sitting up nice and tall. And take a couple of breaths. Let's do some cactus breaths. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. So see if you can allow the breath to be just a little slower here. A little slower. Just a bit slower. And then bring the arms down and let's scoot to the back of the chair and we'll circle the ankles. Circle the ankles. Actually, I'm going to switch seats for this one. So it's nice. This nice flat seat here is actually very comfortable to practice on. So circling the ankles around and going back the other way. And then back the other way. And back the other way. And some leg lifting. So as we lift the leg, we're extending, straightening, and flexing the foot. So please go ahead. Sitting up nice and tall. So you may need a little support for the back here. So lifting up like this and down. So up and down. Feel free to rest a palm on the thigh. Notice how there's a contraction in the quadricep as you extend. So lifting and extending, pressing the heel away, pulling the toes back. Lifting and extending, pulling the toes back. Lifting and extending, pulling the toes back. Lifting and extending, pulling the toes back. You could add your arm if you wanted like this. Feel free to extend the arm. Imagine that the fingers are connected to the toes and they're pulling up. And remember the spine. Sometimes we lose it and we start to round like this. See if you can keep yourself lifted. If you want even more challenge, if you need a big challenge, try and do it without the back of the chair, perhaps. And it's hard to keep the back straight this way. It's hard to not curve the spine. So you really have to work at it to lift as you reach up. And perhaps that's too strenuous. Or remember, we're not straining here. We are practicing with still some ease. Still some ease. Balancing ease and effort. Balancing ease and effort. And then bring the feet down. Rest the arms, and then we'll continue. You can continue with one leg like this, or if you want, you can do both legs at the same time, up and down. Both legs at the same time. Only doing both legs if the back feels supported, so the belly moves in, so we get firmness here, and that supports the lower back and the pelvis as we lift the legs up. So if you're getting any discomfort, or pain, that's telling you that you're working too hard. You're working too hard. Yoga is not no pain, no gain. You don't want to have pain with yoga. So we're inhaling up, and if this is really easy, you could add the arms or one arm up and then down, and then the other arm. And if this is still too easy, you could move away from the back of the chair. I'm not going to do that personally, but you could not use support in the back and try to lift the legs and the arms at the same time. That's pretty hard to do. And let's sit up nice and tall and roll the shoulders. Roll the shoulders a few times. And then back the other way. And let's slide forward in the chair and circle around. So we're circling and letting the weight move in a circle underneath us so that you could feel the weight shifting. It moves out to the foot, then back into one buttock, and then the other buttock, and then into the other foot. So if I was to take my hand like this, I'd be drawing where my weight is underneath me. You could even try the other hand too. You could even work with the hands like this, making sure that you can support the spine if you're going to release the hands. If you're going to have the hands going around like this, it's going to take more to support the spine and extend it. So please only do that if you can support the spine. Otherwise, you rest the hands here, and you can use the hands. Perhaps you need more support for the spine. You can actually use the arms as if they were supporting the spine. So my back isn't doing all the work. Let's try this. Everybody bring your hands like this. We'll do some push-ups. We'll inhale, and then keeping the spine lifted, begin to fold forward. So notice I'm still looking in your direction. I'm keeping the heart lifted here. I'm not rounding like this. I'm keeping lifted, and then I'm going to start to come down as I bend my elbows, and then I'm going to come back up. So I'm going to go back and forth like that. Depending on the strength of your back and the flexibility in the front and the back, some people may go further down, and some people might only go a little. The most important thing is to actually keep the spine extended. So the bending is coming right where the tops of the legs meet the torso, where the tops of the legs meet the torso, right where my fingers are, right here. As I lean forward, I feel the weight moving into the feet more too. So I can use the feet, I can press with the feet to help lift me up. And exhale, and then inhale up, exhale down. So similar what we did in triangle pose. Remember, we went down on the exhalation. We went to the side on the exhalation. And then as we inhaled, we use that inhalation to help lift us up. So use that inhalation here. We get, and then inhale, pressing the feet, lifting with the inhalation. And one more, inhale. Let's do the opposite one. This one, for this one, we're going to start to lean back slightly, and then we're going to come back up, keeping the spine long here. So we exhale, we tighten the belly as we begin to lean back. I'm going to sit in the chair so it can be sideways so you can see. So it's only a slight bit backwards. I'm not going too far back. It's going back to engage the abdominal muscles here. So as I lean back, these muscles are really working. And my spine is still extended. So I'm not rounding like this. Don't round yourself. Sit up tall and then begin to lean back. And if you get to the point where if your muscles can't support you here, don't go back so far. Or the other thing you could do is change your position slightly so that as you start to go back and you've reached that point where your muscles are kind of they do as much as they can to hold you up, so that you now touch the back of the chair. Now you're supported. And then we come back up like this. So you could even have the hands on the legs like this, or perhaps you can even reach the knees and lean back. Depends on the length of your arms. My arms are kind of short. You could even, I don't have something to demonstrate, but you could take a strap, put it under the feet, hold the strap like this as a way to give yourself some support as you lean back. And let's come back up. And we'll sit down. Actually, let's if you'd like to stand up for a minute. I'd like to do the beginning of chair pose. So we've done this before. So chair pose is the same idea as when we sit down in a chair. We have our chair. I'm actually not going to sit down though. I'm only going to bend the knees slightly, and I'm going to begin to sit back as if I was going to sit down. So notice the buttocks gets closer to the chair, and I want very important for the butt muscles, the gluteal muscles to be engaged here. If these muscles are engaged in combination with the quadriceps, you get better support for the knees. I like to hold my hands out as if I was almost looking like I was a chair like this, and then keeping the buttocks engaged and beginning to sit back. The weight begins to move back into the heels. The weight begins to move back into the heels. But I want to make sure also my balance is okay. So you could work with 2 chairs, one behind you in case you accidentally sit down. And the other way is to work with the 1 chair in front of you for balance like this. So continue with that for a few more times, and then perhaps take a rest. Stand up for a moment, take a couple of breaths. And if you're doing this seated, try it like this. We'll press the feet down and then press the feet down and contract the quadriceps here. So this is an isometric. Actually, let's even try it. Come forward a little bit like this if you're seated. Press the feet down. And that'll help get the feeling of, as we come forward, the weight begins to shift into the feet. It sometimes helps to be able to feel the contraction as we come back up. So we'll come forward, press the feet down, and then come back up. So it's like I'm leaning forward as if I was going to, almost like I'm going to stand up. So if I was in a chair and I wanted to stand up, I would lean forward like this. And then I would begin to stand up. But we're not standing up. We're keeping our buttocks in the chair. We're leaning forward, and then we're coming back up. And now let's all sit down. We're going to begin to do our cool down now. So, but that's a very good, whether or not you're seated or whether or not you're standing, that chair pose to work the gluteal muscles and the quadriceps is a good way to strengthen the whole musculature, the train that runs from the ankles to the legs and up to the hips, and even up into the abdominal area. Those muscles are all working together, and we're going to inhale and lift the hands up and around. So do this a few times. So we're inhaling up and exhaling down. So when we do our meditation today, or when we do our Shavasana today, we'd like to turn that into a meditation. So feel free. We'll end the class, and feel free to continue with the meditation seated in Shavasana for as long as you want. And we're going to go back the other way. We're going to bring the palms together, and then we'll drop the hands and lift up. And notice how this feels now. Perhaps your arms, perhaps your back moves a little more easily, perhaps the shoulders, perhaps your face is a bit more relaxed than when we started. So we're noticing things, noticing changes that happen when we practice. And if you notice changes, perhaps you'll be inspired to practice even a little more and find that maybe there's even more changes. We'll go ahead and bring the hands down, and please find your position for Shavasana. It's really so Shavasana seated is really like a supported seated mountain pose. So we want to make sure that we have those feelings, that the lengthening that we have in mountain pose, but at the same time we have support and relaxation so that we can relax in our Shavasana. You're always welcome to lay on the floor if you want. If you do choose to lay on the floor or on something firm, but also something that's soft enough, we don't want to be uncomfortable. So if you do lay down, you want the legs out at about 45 degrees and perhaps the arms at about 45 degrees. It's a little bit of personal preference. You can adjust your arms and legs to make it most comfortable. And we're sitting up nice and tall. And then we exhale and relax the shoulders, relax the arms and the hands. If you can, allow the eyes to close. Perhaps remove your glasses too if you have glasses. Sometimes that helps the face to relax. And we'll continue like this for a few more minutes. Remembering that when the class ends, you're free to continue. You're free to continue with Shavasana. Nice, easy breathing. The face and the eyes are soft. The shoulders are relaxed. I'll see everyone next time. Thank you for joining us today. Namaste.